The Zorathian Empire had reigned over a vast swath of the galaxy for millennia, their technological superiority and military might ensuring their dominance. But now, that supremacy was under threat like never before. Deep within the heart of the Zorathian capital city of Zendari, the members of the Grand Council convened in a state of unprecedented panic and desperation. They had received alarming reports from the outer colonies. Entire planets were going dark, their communications abruptly severed. Worse still, those colonies that managed to send distress signals described scenes of unimaginable carnage, their defenses crumbling before a merciless and unstoppable foe. "The Annihilators have returned," spoke Grelnar, the aging Grand Chancellor, his voice laced with a rare tremor of fear. "We had hoped they were gone for good, but now they have come back to finish what they started." The Annihilators, a mysterious and utterly ruthless alien civilization, had first emerged from the far reaches of space decades ago. Their intentions were as inscrutable as their technology was advanced. They swept through Zorathian-controlled systems, obliterating everything in their path with clinical efficiency. Entire colonies, their populations numbering in the billions, were wiped out in a matter of hours. The Zorathian military, for all its might, proved woefully inadequate against the Annihilators' overwhelming firepower and unrelenting onslaught. It had taken years of costly battles, but the Zorathians had eventually managed to push the invaders back, sealing off the borders of their empire and erecting an impenetrable defense network. The Annihilators had retreated, their motivations and current whereabouts unknown. The Zorathians had breathed a cautious sigh of relief, but they had never truly let their guard down, always fearing the day when the merciless aliens would return. And now, that day had come. "How quickly can we marshal our forces?" demanded Grelnar, his eyes scanning the faces of the other council members. "Our military is already on high alert, but the Annihilators are moving with a speed we've never seen before," replied Jalnith, the Supreme Admiral of the Zorathian Armada. "They are systematically dismantling our outer defenses, system by system. At this rate, they will reach the core worlds within a matter of cycles." The council chamber fell silent, the weight of the impending doom palpable. The Zorathians had never faced a threat of this magnitude. The Annihilators were not merely conquering their territories, but annihilating them utterly, leaving no survivors in their wake. If something didn't change, the Zorathian civilization, a galactic superpower for millennia, would be reduced to ashes. "Then we have no choice," Grelnar said grimly. "We must send out a distress signal, a desperate plea for aid from any civilization that can hear us." The other council members exchanged troubled glances. Reaching out to other alien races for help was seen as a last resort, an admission of weakness that went against the Zorathian ideals of self-reliance and military supremacy. But with the very existence of their empire hanging by a thread, they had no other option. "Commence the transmission immediately," Grelnar commanded. "Broadcast it on all available frequencies, spare no effort. We must hope that someone, anyone, will answer our call." As the order was relayed, the council members could only sit and wait, their hearts heavy with a sense of impending doom. The fate of their civilization now rested in the hands of unknown, distant civilizations, a humbling and terrifying prospect for a people accustomed to wielding unquestioned power. Minutes ticked by in agonizing silence, the only sound the hum of the council chamber systems. Then, a chime from the communications console broke the stillness. "Grand Chancellor, we're receiving a response," announced the operator, his voice tinged with a mixture of surprise and disbelief. Grelnar straightened in his seat, his eyes widening. "From whom?" It's from a small colony of a species called humans, located in the Kyrillus system," the operator replied, clearly puzzled. "They claim they've detected our distress signal and wish to offer assistance." A murmur of astonishment rippled through the council chamber. Humans, a primitive, technologically inferior species from the remote corners of the galaxy, were offering to aid the mighty Zorathian Empire. It was almost unthinkable. Grelnar exchanged a pointed glance with the other council members. "Patch them through," he said, his voice betraying a hint of skepticism. "Let us hear what these humans have to say." As the communication channel opened, the council members steeled themselves, prepared to politely decline any offer of aid from such an insignificant civilization. But the words that came through the speakers would soon shatter their preconceptions and change the course of galactic history forever. "This is Sarah Chen, representative of the human colony on Kirellis." A clear, confident voice rang out. "We've received your distress signal, and we want to help." The Zorathian council members exchanged bewildered glances as Sarah Chen's declaration reverberated through the chamber. Help from humans. The very idea was almost unthinkable. Grand Chancellor Grelnar leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Human, you must understand the gravity of the situation. The Annihilators are an implacable foe, a threat to our entire civilization. What could a small, primitive colony like yours possibly do to aid us?" There was a brief pause before Sarah Chen's voice responded, her tone resolute. "We may be small, but we are not powerless. Our people have faced adversity and fought for survival against harsh conditions on Kirellis. We are resilient, and we are willing to take action to help those in need." The council members murmured amongst themselves, their expressions skeptical. Grelnar raised a hand, silencing the chatter. "Assuming we were to consider your offer, what exactly are you proposing?" "We've detected the trajectory of the Annihilator fleet," Sarah explained. "If you provide us with the coordinates of your most vulnerable outposts, we can attempt to intervene and buy your forces time to mount a counteroffensive." The Zorathians were stunned into silence. This human had the audacity not only to claim she could aid them, but to propose a specific course of action. Grelnar shook his head slowly, his voice tinged with condescension. "Your courage is admirable, human, but your plan is folly. Your primitive ships and weapons would be no match for the Annihilator's superior technology. You would be annihilated before you even reached the battle." "Then give us a chance to prove ourselves," Sarah Chen urged. "We may surprise you. The Zorathian Empire is facing total destruction. What do you have to lose?" Grelnar opened his mouth to deliver a firm refusal, but another council member, Jalneth, the Supreme Admiral, raised a hand to interrupt. "Perhaps we should at least consider the humans' proposal," Jalneth said, his tone thoughtful. "Our own military forces are stretched thin, struggling to hold the line against the Annihilator's advance. If these humans can buy us even a few cycles, it may make all the difference." The Grand Chancellor fixed Jalneth with a stern gaze. "You cannot be serious, Admiral. You would entrust the fate of our civilization to a primitive, insignificant species." Jalneth met Grelnar's eyes unflinchingly. "I agree that the humans' chances of success appear slim. But the Annihilators are closing in, and we have no other options. At this point, we must be willing to take any chance, no matter how small, to ensure our survival." Grelnar fell silent, the weight of the decision visibly troubling him. The other council members shifted uncomfortably, their expressions torn between skepticism and a desperate hope. Finally, the Grand Chancellor let out a deep sigh. "Very well. We will provide the human colony with the coordinates of our most vulnerable outposts. If they truly wish to assist us, let them prove their worth on the battlefield." He turned his attention back to the communication console. "Human, Sarah Chen, we will grant you this opportunity. But understand this, if your actions in any way jeopardize the defense of our empire, there will be consequences." "We understand," Sarah replied, her voice firm. "We will not let you down." As the channel closed, the Zorathian council members exchanged uneasy glances. Had they just made a grave mistake, entrusting the fate of their civilization to a primitive, unknown species? Or could these humans, through sheer determination and unexpected abilities, actually make a difference? Only time would tell. Meanwhile, on the distant human colony of Kirellis, Sarah Chen hurried to convene an emergency meeting of the colony's leadership. The news she had just received from the Zorathians was both alarming and exhilarating. The Zorathians are under attack by a ruthless alien civilization called the Annihilators, she explained, her eyes alight with a mix of concern and determination. They have asked for our help to defend their most vulnerable outposts. The other colony leaders listened in stunned silence. Kirellis was a small, self-sufficient community, focused on eking out an existence on the harsh, remote planet. The idea of engaging in an interstellar conflict against a technologically superior foe was both daunting and unprecedented. "You can't be serious, Sarah," one of the leaders, a burly former military officer named Gareth, exclaimed. "We're just a tiny colony, barely able to defend ourselves. How can we possibly hope to aid the mighty Zorathian Empire?" Sarah held up a hand, silencing the murmurs of protest. "I know it seems impossible, but we have to try. The Zorathians are facing total annihilation. If we don't act, an entire civilization could be wiped out. And think of what we could gain if we succeed." She paused, letting her words sink in. "This could be our chance to prove ourselves, to show the galaxy that humanity is more than just a primitive, insignificant species. We have the courage, the ingenuity, and the determination to make a difference, even against overwhelming odds." The colony leaders exchanged uncertain glances. Sarah's words were stirring, but the risks were immense. Could they really hope to make a meaningful impact against such a formidable foe? After a long moment of deliberation, Gareth let out a resigned sigh. "All right, Sarah. If you believe we can do this, then I'm with you. Let's go show the Zorathians what humanity is made of." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembled leaders. Sarah Chen smiled, her expression resolute. "Then let's get to work. We have a battle to prepare for." The colony of Kirellis was a hive of frenzied activity in the days following the Zorathians' distress call. Sarah Chen and the other human leaders worked tirelessly to assemble a makeshift fleet capable of making the perilous journey across the void of space to reach the Zorathian outposts in need. Their resources were limited, but the humans' ingenuity and determination knew no bounds. They retrofitted a small armada of cargo ships, hastily modifying them with whatever weapons and defensive systems they could cobble together. Many of the colony's able-bodied men and women volunteered to join the mission, eager to prove humanity's worth on the galactic stage. As the departure date drew near, Sarah Chen stood before the assembled crew, her expression a mix of resolve and trepidation. "I know many of you have doubts about our chances of success," she addressed the group. "The Annihilators are a formidable foe, and the Zorathians themselves have warned us that our primitive technology may not be enough. But I believe in each and every one of you. I've seen your resilience, your ingenuity, your courage in the face of adversity. And I know that if any species can defy the odds and make a difference, it's humanity." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her fellow colonists. "The Zorathians are facing total annihilation. We have a chance to change the course of history, to show the galaxy that we are more than just a backwater civilization. This is our opportunity to be the heroes, to prove that we are worthy of a place among the stars." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Sarah could see the determination burning in their eyes. These were not the faces of those who would shrink from a challenge, no matter how daunting. "Then let's get to it," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "For the Zorathians, and for humanity." The humans' makeshift fleet launched from Kirellis, its course set for the coordinates of the Zorathian outposts. The journey would be long and perilous, fraught with unknown dangers, but the colonists were undaunted. They had come too far to turn back now. As the ships traversed the vast expanse of space, Sarah Chen spent countless hours poring over tactical data, devising strategies to overcome the Annihilators' technological superiority. She knew the odds were stacked against them, but she refused to give in to despair. Humanity's survival had always depended on its ability to adapt and innovate, and she was determined to put that trait to the test. Meanwhile, back on the Zorathian homeworld, the council members watched the departure of the human fleet with a mix of trepidation and guarded hope. Do you truly believe these humans can make a difference? Gralnar asked Jalnith, the Supreme Admiral. Jalnith's expression was grave. I cannot say for certain. Their vessels are crude, their weapons primitive, but they have shown a willingness to act that our own forces have lacked in the face of the Annihilator's onslaught. The Grand Chancellor shook his head, his brow furrowed. Still, to entrust the fate of our entire civilization to such an unknown quantity, it is a risk I fear we may come to regret. Perhaps, Jalnith conceded, but we have no other choice. If the humans fail, then we are doomed regardless. At least this way, we have a glimmer of hope. Gralnar let out a weary sigh. Then we can only pray that their courage and determination are enough to make a difference. The days stretched into cycles as the human fleet pushed ever closer to its destination. The journey was arduous, fraught with unexpected challenges, malfunctioning systems, dwindling supplies, and the ever-present threat of attack from hostile alien forces. The colonists faced them all with a resolute determination that refused to be broken. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the battered ships emerged within sight of the Zorathian outposts. But what they saw next filled their hearts with a mixture of horror and determination. The Annihilator fleet was already there, unleashing a relentless barrage of devastating firepower upon the Zorathian defenses. Massive capital ships were being torn apart, their crews vaporized in an instant. The humans watched in a mixture of awe and trepidation, realizing the full scale of the threat they had come to face. By the stars, Gareth murmured, his voice tinged with a rare note of fear. How can we possibly hope to stop that? Sarah Chen's expression hardened, her eyes narrowing with resolve. We have to try, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, for the Zorathians, and for ourselves. She turned to face the rest of the crew, her stance unwavering. Ready the weapons. We're going in. As the human vessels charged into the fray, the Zorathian council members watched with bated breath, unsure whether they had just consigned their civilization to oblivion, or if these unexpected allies might, against all odds, make a difference. The human fleet emerged from the veil of space, their battered ships cutting through the void like a ragged spearhead. As they drew closer to the embattled Zorathian outposts, the full scale of the devastation unfolding became clear. Massive Annihilator vessels unleashed a ceaseless barrage of devastating energy beams and missile barrages, systematically tearing apart the Zorathian defenses. Entire stations and planetary fortresses crumbled under the merciless onslaught, their crews fighting a desperate, losing battle. Gareth, the grizzled former military officer, stared out the viewport, his expression grim. By all the stars, Sarah, how can we hope to make a difference against that? He murmured, his voice tinged with dread. Sarah Chen stood beside him, her eyes narrowed as she studied the unfolding scene. We have to try, she said, her voice resolute. The Zorathians are counting on us. We can't abandon them now. Gareth shook his head slowly. I admire your courage, Sarah, but this is suicide. Those Annihilator ships outclass us in every way. Our weapons won't even make a dent in their defenses. Then we'll have to find a way to even the odds, Sarah replied, her mind racing. She turned to the rest of the crew, her bearing commanding. Prepare the ships for a direct assault. We need to draw the Annihilator's attention away from the Zorathian outposts. Give them a chance to regroup and counterattack. The crew exchanged a series of uneasy glances, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily upon them. But in the end, they knew there was no other choice. Steeling their resolve, they began to carry out Sarah's orders, readying their makeshift armaments for the impending battle. As the human vessels surged forward, the Zorathian council members watched the unfolding scene with a mixture of disbelief and trepidation. Gralnar, the Grand Chancellor, leaned forward in his seat, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. They're actually doing it, he murmured, his voice tinged with a rare note of awe. Those fools are attacking the Annihilators head-on. Jalnith, the Supreme Admiral, did not share the Chancellor's sense of wonder. They'll be annihilated, he said bluntly. Their primitive ships and weapons stand no chance against the Annihilator's superior technology. Grelnar let out a heavy sigh. Then we can only hope their sacrifice buys us the time we need to mount a proper defense. If they fail, then we are doomed. The human fleet surged forward, their modified cargo ships unleashing a barrage of hastily assembled missiles and energy blasts. To the astonishment of the Zorathian observers, the makeshift weapons actually managed to inflict damage upon the Annihilator vessels, drawing their attention away from the embattled outposts. Impossible, Jalneth breathed, his eyes widening in disbelief. How are they doing that? Grelnar shook his head, equally bewildered. I do not know, but they are buying us precious time. Prepare our forces to counterattack. We must not squander this opportunity. As the Annihilators shifted their focus to the human ships, the Zorathian military sprang into action. Squadrons of sleek fighter craft and heavily armed capital ships emerged from the fortified outposts, unleashing a devastating fusillade of firepower upon the distracted enemy. The tide of the battle began to turn, the Zorathians steadily gaining the upper hand as the humans' audacious assault continued to divert the Annihilators' attention. For the first time since the alien menace had reappeared, the Zorathian forces were winning. Aboard the battered human vessels, Sarah Chen and her crew fought with a desperate, indomitable spirit. Their weapons may have been crude, but they were wielded with a ferocity born of the knowledge that they were the last line of defense for an entire civilization. Keep firing, Sarah shouted, her voice barely audible over the din of battle. We have to keep them focused on us. Gareth stood beside her, his face set in a determined scowl as he manned the ship's weapons controls. We're taking heavy damage, Sarah. I don't know how much longer we can hold out. We have to, she replied, her gaze locked onto the raging battle outside. The Zorathians are counting on us. We can't let them down. As the human ships continued to engage the Annihilators, the Zorathian forces pressed their advantage. Capital ships unleashed devastating salvos of missiles and energy beams, gradually whittling down the enemy's defenses. Fighter craft darted through the chaos, picking off smaller Annihilator vessels one by one. Slowly but surely, the tide of the battle began to turn in the Zorathians' favor. The Grand Chancellor and the other council members watched the unfolding scene with a mixture of disbelief and growing hope. They're actually doing it, Grelnar murmured, his voice tinged with awe. Those humans are helping us turn the tide. Jalneth nodded, his expression stern but with a hint of newfound respect. Indeed, I underestimated them. They have proven themselves worthy allies, despite their technological inferiority. As the Zorathian forces pushed the Annihilators back, the human ships continued to hold the line, their weapons blazing defiantly. Sarah Chen and her crew fought with every ounce of their strength, determined to give the Zorathians the time they needed to secure victory. In the end, it was a hard-fought, Pyrrhic battle, but the Zorathians emerged victorious. The Annihilator fleet, battered and broken, retreated into the depths of space, their retreat hastened by the unexpected intervention of the human colonists. As the dust settled, the Zorathian council members turned their gazes towards the ragged human vessels, their expressions a mix of wonder, gratitude, and a newfound respect. The tide of the war had been turned, and it was all thanks to the courageous actions of a small primitive species from the fringes of the galaxy. In the aftermath of the hard-fought battle, the human ships drifted in the void, their hulls battered and scarred by the intense fighting. Aboard the vessels, Sarah Chen and her crew surveyed the damage, their expressions a mixture of relief and exhaustion. We did it, Gareth murmured, his voice tinged with a hint of disbelief. Against all odds, we actually managed to make a difference. Sarah nodded, her lips curving into a weary smile. I never doubted you, Gareth. I knew our people had what it takes to rise to the challenge. The grizzled former military officer let out a low chuckle. Aye, that we do. Humanity may be small, but we're scrappier than anyone gives us credit for. Their moment of triumph was short-lived, however, as a sudden surge of activity on the communication channels drew their attention. Sarah straightened, her expression turning serious. "We're being hailed by the Zorathians," she announced, her voice tinged with a hint of apprehension. "Patching it through now." The view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern visages of the Zorathian Grand Chancellor and Supreme Admiral. Sarah and her crew braced themselves, unsure of what to expect. To their surprise, the Zorathian leader's expressions were not ones of contempt or disappointment, but rather a mixture of wonder and newfound respect. "Humans of Kirellis," Grand Chancellor Grelnar began, his voice formal yet with an underlying note of gratitude. "You have performed a great service to the Zorathian Empire this day. Your courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds have saved countless lives and turned the tide of the battle." Sarah exchanged a relieved glance with Gareth, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. "We're honored to have been of assistance, Chancellor," she replied, her tone measured. "It is our hope that this is the beginning of a lasting alliance between our peoples." Jalnith, the Supreme Admiral, nodded in agreement. "That is precisely what we wish to discuss. The Zorathian Empire owes you an immense debt of gratitude, one that we intend to repay." The human crew listened, their expressions a mix of surprise and cautious optimism. They had never imagined that their daring intervention would be met with such open-armed acceptance by the mighty Zorathians. "What do you propose?" Sarah asked, her curiosity piqued. "We would like to formally extend an invitation for the human colony of Kirellis to join the Zorathian Alliance," Grelnar announced, his gaze unwavering. "Together, we believe we can forge a powerful partnership that will protect both our civilizations from the threat of the Annihilators and any other challenges we may face in the future." The humans were stunned into silence, the weight of the Zorathians' offer sinking in. To be invited to join the ranks of the galactic superpower, to be recognized as equals, it was a prospect that had seemed unimaginable mere cycles ago. Sarah cleared her throat, her mind racing. This is an incredible honor, Chancellor, but we must be certain that we can live up to the responsibility of such an alliance." Grelnar inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Your actions today have already proven your worth, human. We have witnessed your bravery, your ingenuity, and your unwavering determination. These are the qualities we seek in our allies." Jalnith stepped forward, his expression stern yet with a hint of respect. "Make no mistake, the road ahead will be arduous. The Annihilators have been pushed back, but they will return, and in greater numbers. We will need the full might of our combined forces to defeat them." Sarah nodded, her resolve hardening. "Then you can count on us, Admiral. Humanity is ready to stand beside the Zorathian Empire, to fight alongside you against any foe that threatens our newfound alliance." Grelnar's lips quirked into a rare smile. "Excellent. We shall begin preparations immediately. Welcome to the Zorathian Alliance, humans of Kirellis." As the communication channel closed, Sarah turned to face her crew, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and excitement. "Do you all realize what this means?" she exclaimed, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "We've just been invited to join the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. This is our chance to prove that humanity deserves a seat at the table, to show the rest of the civilized worlds that we are more than just a backwater colony." Gareth stepped forward, a broad grin spreading across his weathered features. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's get these ships patched up and ready to go. The Zorathians are going to need our help if they want to take down those Annihilators for good." A cheer rose up from the human crew, their spirits buoyed by the prospect of the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. They had come to the aid of the Zorathians as strangers, but now they were forging a powerful alliance, one that would forever change the course of galactic history. As the human vessels set a course back towards the Zorathian homeworld, Sarah Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and determination. Humanity had been given a chance to prove its worth, and she was determined not to let it go to waste. The return of the battered human vessels to the Zorathian capital of Zendari was met with a mixture of surprise, gratitude, and no small amount of bewilderment. The Zorathian council members and military leaders gathered to greet Sarah Chen and her crew, their expressions a testament to the profound shift in their perceptions. Grand Chancellor Gralnar stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over the weary but resolute humans. "Welcome back, my friends. You have earned the eternal gratitude of the Zorathian Empire." Sarah inclined her head respectfully. "The honor is ours, Chancellor. We were glad to assist in your hour of need." Jelnith, the Supreme Admiral, approached with a measured gait, his eyes narrowed as he studied the humans. "Your actions on the battlefield were nothing short of remarkable. You demonstrated a level of courage and tactical acumen that we did not believe possible from a primitive species such as yourselves." Sarah bristled slightly at the Admiral's words, but she held her tongue, sensing the underlying tone of respect in his voice. "We are simply doing what we believe is right, Admiral," she replied evenly. "Humanity has always risen to the occasion when faced with adversity. We are proud to stand alongside the Zorathian Empire in this fight against the Annihilators." Gralnar nodded, a rare smile creeping across his features. "And for that, we are grateful. The Zorathian Alliance has gained a most valuable ally this day." He turned to address the assembled Zorathian officers and counselors. "Let it be known that from this moment on, the humans of Kyrillis are to be regarded as equals within our ranks. Their bravery and determination have earned them a place at our table." A murmur of surprise and approval rippled through the crowd, and Sarah could see the expressions of her crew shift from cautious optimism to outright pride. To be recognized as equals by the mighty Zorathian Empire was a remarkable achievement, one that few had ever envisioned for their small, isolated colony. "Thank you, Chancellor," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "We will not let you down. I speak for all of us when I say that we are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Zorathians against any foe that threatens our newfound alliance." Grelnar inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Then let us begin our preparations. The Annihilators will return, and we must be ready to face them with the full might of our combined forces." In the days that followed, the humans of Kyrillis immersed themselves in the bustling activity of the Zorathian capital, working tirelessly alongside their new allies to fortify their defenses and devise strategies to counter the Annihilator threat. Sarah Chen found herself in constant discussion with Jelnith and the Zorathian military commanders. Her keen tactical mind and innovative problem-solving skills quickly earning her a reputation as a formidable strategist. Together, they began to piece together a comprehensive plan to turn the tide against the relentless alien invaders. Meanwhile, Gareth and the other human crew members dove headfirst into the task of upgrading and retrofitting their ships, incorporating the latest Zorathian technologies to enhance their capabilities. The once Ragdig fleet was gradually transformed into a formidable armada, ready to take the fight to the Annihilators. As the preparations progressed, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the remarkable turn of events. Just cycles ago, the humans of Kyrillis had been a seemingly insignificant backwater civilization, their existence largely unknown to the greater galactic community. Now they stood as equals alongside the mighty Zorathian Empire, poised to play a pivotal role in the defense of an entire civilization. "It's almost hard to believe, isn't it?" Gareth mused one day, as they surveyed the bustling activity around them. "We've come a long way from that little colony on Kyrillis." Sarah nodded, a wistful smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Indeed, but it's not just about us anymore, Gareth. We're fighting for something much bigger than ourselves, the survival of the Zorathian civilization, and the chance to prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars." The grizzled former military officer let out a low chuckle. "Well, if there's one thing I've learned about our people, it's that we don't back down from a challenge. And this," he gestured broadly at the scene unfolding around them, "this is the biggest challenge we've ever faced. Then we'll meet it head-on, as we always have," Sarah said, her voice resolute. "The Annihilators may be a formidable foe, but they've never faced the determination of the human spirit. And with the Zorathians at our side, I have no doubt that we will emerge victorious." Gareth nodded, his expression hardening with determination. "Damn straight. Those aliens won't know what hit them." As the preparations for the impending showdown with the Annihilators reached a fever pitch, the humans of Keralis found themselves forging an unbreakable bond with their Zorathian allies. The once skeptical Zorathian council members and military leaders had come to see the humans not as primitive upstarts, but as invaluable partners in the fight for survival. Together, they would face the Annihilator threat, united in their determination to protect their civilizations and carve out a brighter future for all. The combined forces of the Zorathian Empire and the human colony of Keralis stood ready, their armadas bristling with state-of-the-art weaponry and the determination to vanquish their foe. After cycles of meticulous preparation and strategic planning, the stage was set for the final showdown with the relentless Annihilators. At the heart of the Zorathian capital, Grand Chancellor Growlar and Sarah Chen pored over the latest tactical assessments, their expressions grave but resolute. "The Annihilators are massing their forces for a decisive strike," Growlar said, his voice tinged with a hint of trepidation. "They will not be as easily deterred this time." Sarah nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Then we must be ready to meet them head-on. Our combined fleets have never been stronger, and our strategies have been honed to perfection." The Chancellor's lips quirked into a wry smile. "Thanks in no small part to your invaluable contributions, my friend. The humans of Keralis have proven themselves to be worthy allies in this fight. We fight for the survival of our civilizations," Sarah replied, her gaze unwavering. "The Annihilators must be stopped, no matter the cost." Grelnar placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression solemn. "And we shall stand beside you, Sarah Chen, until the bitter end. The Zorathian Empire is forever in your debt." With the preparations complete, the massive fleets of the Zorathian Human Alliance surged forth, their vessels cutting through the void towards the coordinates of the Annihilator stronghold. Aboard the flagship, Sarah Chen and Gareth stood side by side, their eyes scanning the tactical displays with a mixture of trepidation and determination. "This is it," Gareth murmured, his voice low. "The moment of truth." Sarah nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line. "We've come too far to back down now. The Annihilators will not have an easy victory this time." As the two armadas clashed in a spectacular display of light and firepower, the battle lines were drawn. The Zorathian capital ships unleashed devastating salvos of energy beams and missiles, their defenses bolstered by the innovative human-designed countermeasures. In the chaos, the human vessels darted between the larger ships, their agility and speed allowing them to strike vulnerable points with precision. But the Annihilators were a formidable foe, and they fought with a ruthless, unrelenting ferocity. Their ships, larger and more heavily armed than their opponents, pounded the Alliance forces with a barrage of devastating attacks. One by one, Zorathian and human vessels succumbed to the onslaught, their crews fighting to the bitter end. Sarah gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles whitening as she watched the battle unfold. "We're taking heavy losses, Gareth. I don't know how much longer we can hold out." Her friend's expression was grim, but his voice was steady. "We've come too far to give up now, Sarah. We have to keep fighting. For the Zorathians, for our colony, for our entire species." Stealing her resolve, Sarah turned to the comm officer. "Signal the reserve fleet. Tell them to join the fray. We need to turn the tide of this battle." As the fresh Zorathian human vessels surged into the fight, the tide began to shift once more. The Annihilators, caught off guard by the unexpected reinforcements, found themselves increasingly hard-pressed to maintain their assault. Aboard the Zorathian flagship, Grelnar and Jalneth watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of relief and awe. "They're doing it," the Grand Chancellor murmured, his voice tinged with disbelief. Against all odds, the humans are helping us push the Annihilators back." The Supreme Admiral nodded, his expression stern, but with a hint of newfound respect. Indeed, their courage and tenacity are beyond measure. Truly, they have earned their place among us as equals. The battle raged on, with both sides inflicting heavy casualties upon the other. But as the minutes turned to cycles, the Alliance forces began to gain the upper hand. Coordinated strikes from the Zorathian capital ships and the agile human vessels steadily chipped away at the Annihilators' defenses, weakening their resolve. In a final, desperate push, the Annihilator fleet made one last, vicious attempt to break through the Alliance lines. But the combined might of the Zorathian human forces proved too much to overcome. With a series of brilliant tactical maneuvers, the Alliance forces pummeled the Annihilator vessels, their relentless assault finally breaking the invaders' will to fight. One by one, the massive alien ships began to retreat, their retreat hastened by the dogged determination of their unexpected adversaries. As the last of the Annihilator fleet disappeared into the depths of space, a cheer rose up from the battered but victorious Alliance forces. Sarah, Chen, and Gareth embraced, their expressions alight with a mixture of relief and pride. "We did it," Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Humanity has proven its worth, and the Zorathian Empire stands stronger than ever." Grelnar and Jalneth approached them, their expressions now tinged with genuine respect and admiration. "Indeed, my friends," the Grand Chancellor said, a rare smile gracing his features. "This victory belongs to us all. The Zorathian alliance has been forged in the crucible of this battle, and it will stand as an unbreakable bulwark against any who would threaten our civilizations." As the celebration rang out across the victorious fleets, Sarah Chen knew that this was only the beginning. The alliance between humanity and the Zorathians had been cemented, and together they would face whatever challenges the future held, united in their determination to protect their newfound partnership and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. In the aftermath of the decisive battle against the Annihilators, the Zorathian homeworld of Tendari buzzed with a palpable energy of celebration and renewed hope. The streets were alive with cheering crowds, the citizens reveling in the knowledge that their civilization had been saved from the brink of destruction. At the heart of the capital, the Zorathian Grand Council convened in a somber yet triumphant session, their gaze focused on Sarah Chen and the other human representatives from the colony of Kyrillus. Grand Chancellor Grelnar rose from his seat, his expression grave but tinged with a newfound respect. "Words cannot adequately express the depth of our gratitude to the people of Kyrillus," he began, his voice carrying a rare note of humility. "You have not only saved our civilization from annihilation, but you have become our valued allies in the truest sense of the word." Sarah inclined her head, her posture exuding a quiet confidence. "The honor is ours, Chancellor. Humanity was glad to stand beside the Zorathian Empire in this pivotal moment. We are humbled to be recognized as your equals, and we pledge to continue supporting your efforts to safeguard our newfound alliance." Jalneth, the Supreme Admiral, stepped forward, his piercing gaze sweeping across the assembled humans. "Your bravery and strategic acumen have proven invaluable in this conflict. We have much to learn from your people, and we welcome the opportunity to forge a deeper, more collaborative partnership." Gareth, standing beside Sarah, allowed a small smile to tug at the corners of his lips. "Then you can count on us, Admiral. Humanity is ready to lend our full support to the Zorathian alliance, in whatever capacity we are needed." Grelnar raised a hand, silencing the murmurs of approval that had rippled through the council chamber. "It is with great pride and pleasure that I announce the official integration of the human colony of Kyrillus into the Zorathian alliance. Together, we will stand as equals, united in our quest to protect our civilizations and ensure a brighter future for all." The Zorathian councillors erupted into thunderous applause, their expressions alight with a newfound sense of optimism. Sarah and her fellow humans exchanged elated glances, their eyes shining with a mixture of pride and humility. As the celebration continued, Sarah found herself drawn into a series of discussions with the Zorathian military commanders and scientific advisors, each of them eager to learn more about the innovative approaches and resourcefulness that had allowed the humans to make such a decisive impact in the battle against the Annihilators. Your use of those improvised missile platforms was truly inspired, Jalneth mused, his brow furrowed in contemplation. How were you able to develop such effective countermeasures with such limited resources? Sarah smiled, her mind flashing back to the countless hours spent poring over schematics and tinkering with makeshift components. It's a matter of necessity, Admiral. On Carolus, we've had to learn to make the most of what we have. Ingenuity and adaptability are essential for survival on our harsh homeworld. The Supreme Admiral nodded, his expression thoughtful. A valuable lesson, indeed. We Zorathians have grown complacent, relying too heavily on our technological superiority. Your people have shown us that innovation and resourcefulness can be just as powerful as raw firepower. He placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, his grip firm but not overbearing. I look forward to seeing what other contributions the humans of Carolus can make to the Zorathian alliance. Together, I believe we can forge a future that surpasses even our wildest dreams. Sarah felt a surge of pride and determination, her resolve hardening. Then you can count on us, Admiral. Humanity is ready to play a vital role in shaping that future. As the days turned to cycles, the integration of the human colony into the Zorathian alliance progressed with remarkable swiftness. Sarah and her fellow colonists found themselves immersed in a flurry of activity, collaborating with their new allies on a wide range of initiatives, from bolstering the alliance's military defenses to spearheading groundbreaking scientific and technological advancements. Gareth, in particular, thrived in his new role as a liaison between the human and Zorathian forces, his military expertise and tactical acumen proving invaluable in the ongoing efforts to fortify the Alliance's position against any future threats. It's still surreal, you know, he confided to Sarah one evening as they strolled through the bustling streets of Tendari. Just a few cycles ago, we were a small, isolated colony, barely scraping by. And now we're standing shoulder to shoulder with the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Sarah nodded, a wistful smile tugging at the corners of her lips. I know. It's a remarkable transformation, one that I never could have imagined. But it's also a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. She placed a hand on Gareth's arm, her gaze unwavering. We've proven our worth, Gareth. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. And we're just getting started. The future holds limitless possibilities, and I can't wait to see what we'll accomplish alongside our Zorathian allies. Gareth chuckled, his expression filled with a newfound sense of optimism. Then let's get to work, Sarah. The galaxy won't know what hit it. As the two friends continued their stroll, the bustling city around them seemed to hum with a renewed energy, a reflection of the boundless potential that now lay before the Zorathian human alliance. United in their determination to safeguard their civilizations and forge a brighter tomorrow, the stage was set for humanity and the Zorathians to embark on a new era of unprecedented cooperation and discovery.